All right, so ready to dive into this whole attracting wealth thing.
Let's do it.
We're going deep on this one, way beyond the usual advice. We're talking about how our mindset, those thoughts we have and the actions we take, how those actually impact our financial reality.
It's about getting to that next level, right? Like we've all heard the tips, but this is about going deeper.
Exactly. And we've got a ton of fascinating material to dig into, articles, audio, even some insights from different cultures. I was blown away by some of this stuff.
Oh yeah, that's pretty wild what we uncovered.
Like, get this, one audio clip we found even ties this whole thing to quantum physics.
Yeah.
Apparently, our consciousness might actually be influencing reality.
Yeah, that's that observer effect they talk about in quantum physics. It's like just by observing something, you change it. And now they're saying this ancient wisdom about our thoughts creating reality, might actually be backed by science. Crazy, right?
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Like, what if we've had this power all along, but we just didn't realize it?
Exactly. And if that's true, then imagine the possibilities if we can actually harness that power.
Okay, so we've all heard that saying, thoughts are energy, but what does that really mean for us? Like, how does that translate into more money in the bank?
Well, think about it. Have you ever noticed that when you're struck in a negative thought loop, when you're constantly worrying about money, it seems like more things go wrong. It's like you're attracting more negativity into your life.
Oh, 100%. It's like when you're already running late and then you hit every red light and then you spill your coffee on yourself and it's just like, seriously, universe.
Exactly. It's almost as if our beliefs act like filters, shaping what we experience.
Yeah.
If we're constantly focused on scarcity, on not having enough, we might be unintentionally attracting more of that into our lives.
It's like our thoughts are these magnets, and whether we realize it or not, we're constantly attracting things into our lives based on what those magnets are putting out there.
Precisely. So the key is to become aware of those magnets, those beliefs we're holding on to, and start to shift them to align with what we want to create in our lives.
So if our thoughts can actually shape our reality, how do we shift from that scarcity mindset to one of abundance? Is it just about thinking positive thoughts all the time, or is there more to it?
It's definitely more than just wishful thinking. It's about fundamentally changing your beliefs about resources and opportunities.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? Because, our beliefs can be pretty deeply ingrained, right?
Absolutely. Our beliefs are often formed in childhood based on what we observed in our families, the messages we received from society. They become these deeply ingrained patterns.
Yeah, like if you grew up with parents who were always stressed about money, you might unconsciously adopt those same beliefs about money being scarce and difficult to come by.
Exactly. And those beliefs can then play out in our lives, even if we're not consciously aware of them.
So how do we break free from those old patterns, those limiting beliefs that might be holding us back?
Well, gratitude is a powerful tool for that. It's about shifting our focus from what we lack to what we already have. Instead of dwelling on bills, try focusing on the roof over your head, the food on your table, even just the simple pleasure of a warm cup of coffee in the morning.
It's about appreciating those small things, those everyday blessings that we often take for granted.
Exactly. And what's amazing is that when you start to focus on gratitude, it shifts your energy. You start to see the world through a different lens, a lens of abundance rather than scarcity.
One of the sources we came across used a really interesting analogy to describe this whole thing. They said that what you believe is what gets reflected back to you, just like a mirror.
I like that. So if you're constantly seeing lack and limitation, it might be time to check what your inner mirror is reflecting. Are you focusing on what's wrong? Or are you focusing on what's right?
It's so easy to get caught up in that negative self-talk, that inner critic that's always telling us we're not good enough, not worthy enough, not wealthy enough.
It's like that voice is always trying to keep us small, safe, and stuck in our comfort zones. But the truth is, we are capable of so much more.
So how do we silence that inner critic, that voice of scarcity, and start to believe in our own potential for abundance?
Well, that's where the real work begins. And the good news is that we have the power to choose what we see in that mirror. We can choose to focus on abundance, to seek out evidence of it in our lives. Because the truth is, abundance is all around us. We just have to open our eyes to see it.
It's like we're shifting from a mindset of I don't have enough to a mindset of there's more than enough to go around and I am worthy of receiving it.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that we live in a universe of infinite possibilities, and we have the power to create a reality that aligns with our deepest desires.
Okay, but it's not just about thinking the right thoughts, right? All the sources were pretty clear about that. Action is crucial. It's about aligning our actions with those abundant thoughts.
You got it. One source called it inspired action. It's not about forcing things from a place of stress or desperation, but rather taking steps that feel aligned with our goals and values.
So it's like daydreaming about that dream vacation isn't enough. I have to actually book the flights, pack my bags, and get myself to the airport, right?
You got it. Visualizing your goals is important, but it's the action that brings those visualizations to life. And the actions themselves can be incredibly varied. Maybe it's investing in your education, finally starting that business you've been dreaming of, or even just finding small ways to add value to the world through your unique talents.
It's about taking those inspired actions, even if they seem small, and trusting that they're moving us closer to our goals.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that action doesn't have to be this big, scary thing.
Yeah, like sometimes just taking that first step, even if it's just researching different business ideas or signing up for a class, can create a ripple effect and open up all sorts of unexpected opportunities.
Exactly. It's like that saying, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Okay, so we're clear on the importance of aligning our actions. But before we even get to that, we need to get clear on what we're actually aiming for. Right? A lot of the sources talked about the importance of getting specific with our goals.
You're right. The universe loves specificity.
It's like ordering from a menu. You wouldn't just say, I want food. You'd be specific about what you're craving. It's the same with our desires. Instead of just wishing for more money, how can we get clear on what we want and why we want it?
Exactly. One person in an audio clip we listened to mentioned they were trying to attract wealth, but their goal was simply being rich. It wasn't until they got specific and said, I want to increase my monthly income by $500 to travel more and invest, that things started to shift.
It's like the universe was waiting for that clear signal, that specific request, so it knew how to deliver vague desires, vague results, right?
Exactly. When you're specific about what you want, you're sending out a clear frequency to the universe, and it can then start to orchestrate people, events, and opportunities to help you achieve that goal.
So no more vague wishes for a bigger bank account. We need to paint a clear picture for the universe of what we want our financial reality to look like.
And don't be afraid to get detailed. The more specific you are, the better.
Okay, so we're clear on our goals. We're taking aligned action. Sounds simple enough, right?
Well, there's one more piece to this puzzle we haven't talked about yet.
And this is where it gets really interesting, right? Like, we can have all the positive thoughts in the world, but if deep down we don't believe we're worthy of wealth, it's not going to happen.
You hit the nail on the head. We're talking about limiting beliefs. And this is where things can get a little tricky because these beliefs often operate beneath the surface, influencing our thoughts, feelings, and actions without us even realizing it.
It's like there are these invisible scripts that have been running in the background since childhood, dictating our relationship with money without us even realizing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And until we bring those scripts to light, until we become aware of them, we can't rewrite them.
So how do we even begin to identify those limiting beliefs? What are some signs that our subconscious might be sabotaging our financial success? So how do we uncover those hidden beliefs, those sneaky little gremlins that might be holding us back?
Well, one of the most powerful tools we came across was meditation. I know. It can seem a little woo-woo at first, but trust me on this one.
Yeah, I used to think meditation was just about sitting in silence, trying to empty your mind, which, by the way, is pretty much impossible if you've got a brain like mine.
Right. But it's not about stopping your thoughts altogether. It's about creating space between your thoughts, becoming an observer of your own mind.
No, it's like hitting the pause button on that constant chatter that's usually running on autopilot in the background.
Exactly. And when you create that space, when you start to observe your thoughts without judgment, that's when you can start to identify those limiting beliefs. They'll pop up like, wait a minute, where did that come from?
Oh, I totally get it. It's like, I'm not good enough to be wealthy, or money is the root of all evil. Those deep-seated beliefs that we might not even realize are driving our financial decisions.
Exactly. And once you become aware of those beliefs, you can start to challenge them. You can ask yourself, is this really true? Is this belief serving me?
It's like we're finally shining a light on those shadows, those hidden corners of our minds where those limiting beliefs have been lurking. And once they're out in the open, we can start to dismantle them.
Exactly. Knowledge is power, right? Mm-hmm. Once we know what we're dealing with, we can start to make different choices.
So meditation is like step one, become aware of those limiting beliefs. What's next? How do we actually start to shift them?
Well, there's another technique that came up a lot in the sources, and that's visualization. And again, I know this one can sometimes feel a little out there, but it's about more than just daydreaming.
Right. It's not just about closing your eyes and picturing yourself winning the lottery or swimming in a pool of money, although that can be fun too, I guess.
Exactly. It's about creating a visceral experience in your mind, about engaging all of your senses.
So what does that actually look like? Can you give us an example?
Sure. Let's say your goal is to buy your dream home. Instead of just picturing the house itself, imagine yourself walking through the front door. What does it smell like? Freshly baked bread.
I love the smell of freshly baked bread.
Me too. Okay, so you're smelling that amazing bread and you feel the plush carpet under your feet. You hear the birds chirping outside the window.
It's like you're actually there experiencing it in real time.
Exactly. And the more senses you can engage in that visualization, the more real it becomes to your subconscious mind. It's like you're sending a powerful message to the universe. This is what I desire, and I believe it's possible.
I love how this whole attracting wealth thing isn't just about the money itself, but about the feelings and experiences that money can bring.
Absolutely. It's about tapping into that energy of abundance, of joy, of gratitude, and then aligning your actions with those feelings.
So we've got meditation for awareness, visualization for creating that visceral experience. Any other tools in the abundance toolkit?
Absolutely. And this is another big one, affirmations.
Affirmations. Okay, I'll admit I was a bit skeptical about this one at first.
I hear you. A lot of people think affirmations are just about repeating positive phrases and hoping for the best.
Right, like if you just keep saying, I am wealthy, money is magically going to appear in your bank account.
Exactly. But it's not about denial or wishful thinking. It's about consciously choosing new, empowering beliefs and then literally speaking them into existence. It's like we're rewriting those old limiting scripts that have been running in the background of our minds.
Okay, so instead of I'll never be able to afford that, it's I'm a money magnet and abundance flows into my life with ease.
You got it.
Yeah.
And the more you repeat those affirmations, the more your subconscious mind starts to believe them. It's like you're creating new neural pathways, new possibilities that were always there, but were hidden beneath those old negative thought patterns.
So it's not just about saying the words, it's about feeling the truth of those words, embodying that energy of abundance.
Exactly. It's about shifting your internal state, which then creates a ripple effect in your external reality. Remember that mirror analogy we talked about earlier?
It's like we're finally polishing that mirror, replacing those old, distorted reflections with a clear, radiant image of who we truly are, powerful, abundant beings capable of creating extraordinary lives.
Now you're getting it.
You know, it's interesting. We've been talking a lot about attracting wealth, about manifesting our dream lives, but it's not just about accumulating more and more for ourselves, is it?
You hit the nail on the head. In fact, a lot of the sources we dug into talked about the importance of circulating wealth, of using our abundance to make a positive impact in the world.
Right, like that saying, the more you give, the more you receive. But it's not about giving with the expectation of getting something in return, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's not about trying to manipulate the universe or strike some cosmic bargain. It's about recognizing that we live in a world of interconnectedness. And when we share what we have, we're contributing to a larger ecosystem of giving and receiving.
It's like we're all part of this giant energy field. And when we give from a place of love and generosity, we're raising the vibration for everyone.
Absolutely. And that generosity doesn't always have to be financial. It can be about sharing our time, our skills, our resources, whatever we have to offer.
Yeah, like volunteering at a local charity, mentoring someone just starting out, or even just offering a listening ear to a friend in need.
Exactly. It's those small acts of kindness, those everyday gestures of generosity that can create a ripple effect far beyond what we can imagine.
It's like that idea that we're all connected, and even the smallest act of kindness can have a profound impact on someone else's life.
And it all comes back to that energy of abundance we were talking about earlier. When we approach life from a place of enoughness, when we trust that there's always more than enough to go around, we naturally want to share that abundance with others.
So it's not just about attracting wealth for ourselves, it's about becoming a conduit for that abundance to flow through us and into the world.
Beautifully said. And when we do that, when we align ourselves with that flow of giving and receiving, we open ourselves up to even more abundance in our own lives.
It's like we're creating a virtuous cycle where generosity begets abundance, which begets more generosity.
Exactly. And that's a powerful place to be.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into attracting wealth, what's the key takeaway you want our listeners to leave with today?
If there's one thing I hope people take away from this, it's that we are not just passengers on this journey of life. We are powerful creators, and we have the ability to shape our reality through our thoughts, our beliefs, and our actions.
It's about taking ownership of our financial well-being, stepping into that role of CEO of our own lives, and realizing that we have more power and agency than we often give ourselves credit for.
Yes, and it's about recognizing that true wealth is not just about money. It's about living a life that feels aligned, joyful, and purposeful.
And that journey starts within. It starts with cultivating a mindset of abundance, believing in our own worthiness, and taking inspired action towards the lives we truly desire.
Beautifully said. And remember, the universe is on your side, always conspiring to help you achieve your dreams.
So what are you waiting for? Go out there and create some magic. We can't wait to see what you manifest. Until next time, keep diving deep.